Okay, I covered these three things in the last video, so this time I'll run through a couple of scenarios. So what I see a lot of people do is they're actually really insulin sensitive because they do a lot of high intensity exercise, but they completely neglect zone 2. So they're here, they've got one of these, they got one of these which is good, and they've also got low lean body mass because they're just high intensity junkies. What happens then is they've got these cells that are really insulin sensitive that will clear glucose from the bloodstream, but they're still limited with the amount of power they can produce while they're in fat. And they're actually in fat burning mode a lot, but they can't produce a lot of power, which makes them lazy and tired. And I don't use the word lazy in a negative sense, just tired and fatigued. Okay, another one that I see is bodybuilder type that's got really large muscles, but isn't really doing anything in terms of high intensity and isn't really doing anything zone 2 wise. So they have potential to get rid of a lot of glucose, and they might be more insulin sensitive than this one, but not quite as insulin sensitive as this one. And this will mean they've got energy for training, but for the rest of their life, they'll be pretty lackluster and not have a lot going on. So if you're only training weight, you're missing out on some of these things here. And loads of guys that lift weights will do cardio, but they're not doing it in a specific way. They'll do it maybe more intense, zone 3, zone 4, because they think they're burning more calories, but all they're doing is emptying their muscles of carbohydrates. So when they go to training, they actually lose benefits. If you use zone 2, then you will increase the amount of fat that you're burning and leave more carbohydrates in your muscles for when you are weight training. And another scenario is someone who's really good at zone 2, but they do no high intensity and not particularly good at weight training or aren't particularly strong at weight training. This would be like a low intensity cardio junkie. If you've got low lean body mass, you're gonna have trouble getting rid of glucose. If you're not very insulin sensitive or you're not doing any high intensity exercise and this part isn't working, you're gonna be really good at burning fat, but any glucose you have in will struggle to get through the system. So you're gonna be constantly burning through carbohydrates because you're not clearing them fast enough. So zone 2, although fantastic, you need these other elements as well. Okay, we're gonna go through the different standards here on low intensity. So low intensity, what I like to see is 1.5 times your ideal body weight in watts. 20 minutes in zone 2. There's loads of ways to categorize zone 2, but this 1.5 times has to be in kilos. So if you're 60 kilos, you're looking at holding 90 watts for 20 minutes without leaving zone 2. And there's loads of ways to measure zone 2. The Apple Watch just now has zone 2 on it and it's super accurate. It's a nice way of working it out. For high intensity, this one, so use an erg. You can use a bike erg, a row erg, or a ski erg, and you do a 1 minute maximum distance. In that maximum distance, you then use 40 to 50%, closer to 50% is better, of that max distance for 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 6 rounds. I'll give you a wee example of this. So if in that minute you cover 300 meters, for instance, then for your 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, I'd expect you to hold 140 to 150 meters or complete 140 to 150 meters, 30 seconds rest, repeat, repeat, repeat. Once you drop below this number, that is it, over. If you complete all 6 rounds, your cells are very insulin sensitive and you're processing glucose really well. If you only last 1 to 2 rounds, you're not doing very well. Also, this is, don't do this 1 minute on the same day that you're doing this. Give yourself a day of rest in between. Then we come over here to building the large muscle. So strength is a proxy of muscle. So what I like to see is back squat 1.5 times ideal body weight, bench press 1 times ideal body weight, and deadlift 2 times ideal body weight. If you can't do any of these movements, that's fine. There's workarounds for each one of those. Lots of people can't do these movements. Lots of people don't know what these movements are, but this is the standard that I'd like to get you in a range of, to know that you are strong enough, which means that your muscles are large enough.